Hey folks, so in this video I'm going to install an i5-13400f. I actually was trying to sell it, but somehow we still have it. I did sell off the i5-13600kf, so you won't see that on the channel anymore, but that's the way it goes. Alright, so like I said, we're going to install that CPU. Assassin King 120 SE we're going to install. We could put two CPU fans on there because we have a couple extra. I've removed the tape from the underside of this. Alright, so in case I don't talk about that step. Alright, here's our CPU, folks, safely tucked away in its case. Let me rotate this so you can see what we're going to do here. On here is a triangle. You may or not be able to see it. Let's get you a little more light. Triangle there. We match that up with a little triangle on the CPU. Of course, when we put the CPU in, the words and lettering are, if you read in English, right, we read from left to right, so it starts over here, it goes across. That matches up, left matches up with the I/O shield over here, okay? Alright, let's go ahead and put our CPU in there. And funny that I have this and not the i5-13600kf anymore. So there's your little triangle. Now this CPU, I did a little review on it. Not super impressed with it. It's obviously one of the value leaders for 13th gen as far as bang for your buck, but I've had this a while. Didn't get as much attention as I figured it would. Alright, so we put the CPU in. I noticed I was putting my hands around here, touching to see if this green board is just about the same level as the green framework there, gray framework. We're going to drop this down. That'll pop the black cover piece off, hopefully. Now, if it doesn't, don't kill yourself or the CPU. Go ahead and just pop it off with your hands, right? Because you see that did not pop off. Now, I always get concerned when it doesn't pop off, or if it's sometimes it violently pops off. You just want to make sure that CPU is seated good before we lock the hammer down on it, all right? So we've got that now. We've got to build up our CPU cooler. So let's get that over to the side. Now, in the box, we have the cooler. We have a fan. We should have some brackets in here. We've got a couple different kits in there. And we're just doing this for an LGA 1700. So we need our back plate. This one has tape and these are adjustable. You may get a different variation of that. You'll need your fan brackets, 2 of these. Here's the LGA spacers and screw kit. And then, folks, these 2 brackets, all right? So I'm not even going to bother really looking at the instructions because I've already put 3 similar ones together, but I will show you the instructions real fast. And so hopefully you may have to pause your screen. Quite a few of you will watch this on a 4K TV, and we are recording 4K 60 FPS. It'd be nice if we were recording in 120, but oh well. Alright, so now if you're gonna, I say, somewhat make this permanent, you'll want to take the tape off here. I'm not going to, because I'm not going to keep this on here for very long. So I've got to put these in here and just see if they'll fit the way they are, and of course not. So these are adjustable, and you want to pop them out to the end. if you can. For some reason this one doesn't want to move. There we go. Pop it, click it to the next stop, and that should work. Alright, now only two ways this can go in there. One correctly, one not correctly. And so we've got those in there. And now I'm going to drop that down. I've got my fingers underneath this board holding onto the bracket until I can slide this on to the counter there. And so we've got that in place. Now, next thing we need, folks, are the spacers. Somewhere in here we'll put thermal paste on. I did not show you guys that yet, but thermal paste is coming soon. Alright, blue spacers for this. If you were doing one of the other setups, you would use the different colored spacers. Now our fan, we want to orient this. This looks to be almost symmetrical. We want to orient it like this. Okay, why am I showing you that? Because when we put the brackets on, they've got to be oriented correctly. And to get that done correctly, it's got to come in like so. Alright. Now, this is where you'll want a magnetic screwdriver. So you want a magnetic screwdriver and a good bit of patience. So you're sticking the screw through the bracket, through, hopefully. See how this thing's moving all over the place? This will drive you nuts, folks. This aspect is what I would refer to as a really bad design. Alright, so we're holding it down, and then boom, we get it in there. Alright. Noctua has a very similar design, but theirs is better, right? And they probably have a patent, so therefore that's why these guys had to come up with this. Noctua's design, the posts stick up out of the motherboard far enough that you just put the spacers on and then the bracket. One less step than what we're having to do here. Now, once you get the hang of this, it's not so bad. But I definitely like Noctua's design better for this. So in case you're wondering what we're recording with, Samsung S20 Ultra. We've used a regular S21 on the channel. The camera on here is, pretty high megapixel, but I haven't really figured out if it's any better. I think the file size is bigger, but alright, so doing this bracket, see I've already put the screw in there, and then coming in, and voila. We don't want to tighten it all the way down because we got to get the other screw in. And I am using magnetic screwdriver. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it does not. And then we're just going to tighten this thing down, folks. Tightening away. So after we get these screws tight, this is where you get your thermal paste out. Thermalright gives you a nice tube that you can use a couple times. And I work my forearms a little bit. And this is actually beating them up a little. All this work I'm doing here, folks. Alright, so that's in there, or at least that one was in nice and tight. And it appears that one moved. You do want to make sure these are in nice and tight. Not to the point where you break something, but... Alright, thermal paste. And the tube that came with this, if I remember correctly, should be this Thermalright TF4. And so we're going to, this is a square base on it. I'm going to go with kind of like a 3-line design. And that should be enough. Of course, you could put one big blob down there. All right. Drop that down. And you have to line these up, folks. This one's not, I can tell, but I just want to get a couple threads on there and then jump to the other side and hopefully get a couple threads in. And we're going to check to see. Then we'll jump to the other side, a couple more threads, and then at this point we can start to crank these down more. Now, definitely don't want to be in a big hurry doing this. Very wise to take your time. Make sure you have a nice grip on the Phillips head screwdriver. Alright, so that part's done, folks. Now, so you can see it, I am going to show you the way the fan. This is the intake side of the fan, exhaust side, alright? If you go like this, you can potentially trap that wire in there and not have as much cable sitting around, right? So let's do, we got to put a bracket on here, and should be through the top one. And we're going to come over here and pop that in there like that, all right? So one side's good. Now this other side, if we're lucky, we can catch it with the bracket, so there's one less thing dangling around. And I put these through the holes, and then pinch that in. It's good. Now our wire, this can go on here only one way, and so I can't rotate this 180 degrees. All right, let me put that in there, hopefully without damaging it. Don't force it. And you guys didn't even see that. Hopefully I'll remember to edit that out. But all right, so here's your 4-pin CPU fan header. This connector can go in only one way, and so we're going to put it down in there, and boom, that's good to go. All right, so you can see this is a little lopsided. We want to drop the CPU fan down relatively low. The most heat on the tower is going to be towards the bottom, so cooling that off makes a lot of sense, right? Now, RAM wise, this is DDR4. Always check to see that your RAM's compatible. I'm going to show you how to install RAM. Doesn't mean I actually checked to see if it was compatible. So this side shorter than that side, the way the grooves are here. This side is the shorter side. I'll pop that in. Should hear a double click. Same thing with this other one. So we're using A2B2. That's recommended for your first set of RAM or first pair of RAM. If you have 4 pairs or 4 sets of RAM, 4 sticks of RAM, you'd fill all of them out. All right. That is all we're going to do in this video. From this point, you will be able to install this and into your case and add a graphics card, because this is a 13400f, i5-13400f, so it needs a graphics card. And then you can boot this up and get into BIOS. Thanks for checking out the video, folks. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you.